Greetings everyone, I hope you are all well. Today I will be talking about how I actually became a teacher in Korea. I get asked this every now and then and people email me about the process and how I did it. And I do believe I have actually spoken about how I started in a couple of Q&A videos, but I thought it would be best to do a dedicated video just so that for those of you who are actually curious and interested, you have point of reference to go straight to. So let's talk a bit about my background. I do not have any prior teaching experience whatsoever. My background is actually in business, so my degree was international business with French. Let's not talk about the French part because that didn't happen. I ended up dropping French in my final year because me and French weren't working very well together. However, I digress. In order to teach in Korea, you need to have completed a course of study, so like a degree. You need to have a full degree. It doesn't really matter what it's in. It could be geology, archaeology, business, English, whatever you have. As long as you have a completed degree and proof that you have finished it, you're good to go. So like I said, I had my degree. I believe, don't quote me on this, but if you had an English degree, you didn't need to get a TEFL certificate. But it's been so long since I've done the whole process, I think I might be getting jumbled up with the information. But I needed to get a TEFL certificate, which is what I did. My advice to you, if you at some point are going to be going to teach, look on Groupon. There are always deals on Groupon for TEFL courses. There's no point in paying X amount because it doesn't really matter. They're not really, what's the word, like accredited? I don't know if that's the word I need, but you can go for one that's £200 or $200, or you can go for one that's $50. Go for the Groupon deal because it doesn't really matter. The course provider that you use doesn't really affect anything at all. As long as you have a certificate saying that you've completed a TEFL course, that is all that matters. So I did that. That is what I had. And at the point of when I was applying, I think it was the next intake that they were doing, you were also required to have, I think it was like 30 hours or less, I can't remember, of in-class training. And I didn't need that at the time of my application, but I did it anyway because I felt that it would like boost my application and show my level of commitment, you know. So that is the background of the qualifications that you need. Obviously, if you have a teaching background, if you were a teacher previously, that will work in your favor, but as it stands, they don't really care. So to get there, I actually used a program. I'm sure some of you guys who have been with me since day, you would know that I actually came through the EPIC program. So there are a few different programs that you can use. Because I had never obviously been to the country or taught there before, I was a novice and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I decided to go through a program well known like EPIC, sort of like a hand, so that they can hold my hand through the process, walk me through everything. I'm sure that some of you who have watched previous videos would know that I actually went through Recruiter the first time, and I decided after when I reapplied again not to do that because the process is not that deep. So that's what I did the second time round, and I think now EPIC only hire directly, so you can't even go through a recruiter anyway. Not that it really mattered in my opinion. Now, like I said, there are a few different programs that you can go through. EPIC hire, I think, SMOE as well, so the Seoul Metropolitan something. I can't remember what that all stands for, but I think, so EPIC hires for the rest of Korea, and they also hire for Seoul as well. Now, I don't remember if Seoul does their own recruitment separate from EPIC as well. I think they do, but quote me if I'm wrong. Don't quote me if I'm wrong, don't do that. But I do believe that they do their own separate recruitment, maybe. I do believe Incheon does their own separate recruitment now, but I'm sure because it's been so long since I did the whole process, a lot has changed because it was always changing when I was there. So in regards to the process that I went through with EPIC, I did a video on this a while ago, which will probably detail more than I can tell you now because I did it like 6 months after I got there or whatever it was. Quality is not that good in terms of the sound because we filmed it in a cafe, but I'll link it anyway because I might miss some of the information that I would probably have said in that video. But from what I remember, the process went as follows. You write your application, you fill it out, you send it to them. I did it literally like 5 minutes past midnight when they opened the application. Once you've done that, you'll hear back as to whether or not you have an interview. you have your interview, it's over Skype, they give you a time, they give you a day, and then you have to make sure you're ready. So what I was dressed from the waist up, which is what I do for YouTube as well, and I was in my pajamas waist down. Looked presentable, had the interview with whoever it was, and then you find out, I think it took like a week or so or a few days for you to find out whether or not you've actually passed that stage. Once you have passed that stage, then you have to hand in all of your documentation. So that could take a week or so, but if you had been on it and started applying for certain things before, like just before the application opened, then you'll be pretty quick with all of that stuff. So the documentation that you needed to hand over, I needed a criminal background check. I needed and it has to be valid within the first 3 months of when you get to Korea. I can't remember, but it has to be a certain period that it's valid from. Then I also need like a few references, a work reference, and there were probably a few other documents, like I think copy of my my uni degree, just to show that I've obviously completed my course of studies and all that stuff. I'm sure you can find all of the documents that you'll need on the Epic website. I will also link that below. So once you've compiled all of that documentation, you send it off to Korea. I did mine via FedEx. I paid for like, I can't remember what it was, it cost like £40 or something. Went straight to Korea, and then once they review all of your documentation, you have to send like originals and also copies of your documentation. And then once they do that, then your process takes like, I don't really remember, it takes however long it takes, and then you find out if you've gotten in for sure. So like I said, I detailed all of the stuff in a previous video. I'm probably missing out a lot of information, but once you found out if you've got in for sure and what city you're going to be in, then you can book your flight and then you're on your way and all your good stuff. I probably made it sound a lot simpler than it really was, because from what I remember, there was a crap load of stressing. I had to run around like a headless chicken many times. I didn't really have that much support from my family. It was a very stressful time, I remember, because you're kind of left hanging because you don't really know, because nothing's really for certain. They tell you not to buy your plane ticket until like a week or two before you're flying, because just in case you don't get in. It just seemed very like wishy-washy sometimes with them, but thankfully I got in, and then I was on my merry way. Now, like I said, there are a few other programs and avenues that you can take. My advice to you would be do all of the research, do all of the Googling, and do all of the forum searching. So as I said, I went through Epic, but there was like Incheon does their own hiring, I think. SMOE does their own hiring. You can also go to private schools, so Hagwons. There are like, I think even Jeju hires privately, so there are many different avenues. I think if you are area specific, perhaps Epic might not be for you, because you don't really have any control over where they place you. You can actually tell them what your preferences are, but they kind of like, I think their thinking is, well, if you're here for the right reasons, it doesn't really matter where you want to go. So I didn't really care, but you can, if you want to be in Seoul specifically, you can actually say that, and there's a little bit of a different process if you want to go to Seoul through Epic. So once you've arrived with Epic, they actually have an orientation week. I think it was 9 days, and it's pretty intensive. You get to classes at like 8 AM or something in the morning, and then you don't finish until 7 or 8 in the evening. I don't really remember what the times were and the schedules were. All I remember being was just very tired for like a couple of weeks. You're given lessons on like teaching plans and like activities and things that you would need to equip you for when you get to your classrooms eventually. So they don't kind of throw you in the deep end. They do kind of give you an opportunity to learn about what you're going to be doing for the year or two that you'll be there. The orientation is also really great because it gives you an opportunity to make friends as well. Whereas if you'd gone straight to Korea through a Hagwon, you might not have that same chance to make friends, people who are in the same boat as you, the same situation, and understand exactly what you're going through. So that's another reason why I would recommend Epic. I think, in my opinion, the reason why the process and the credentials that you need is so simple and not really convoluted is because, to be very honest with you, the role is more like a teaching assistant. Depending on your school and your co-teacher, you might not really get to do that much in the classroom. So I can kind of see why they don't require that much background in teaching from people. Now, you can have your conversations on that and your arguments on that, but that's how it is. I was very lucky in that my co-teachers really trusted me and they really liked me. So about 9 months into when I was there, my first 9 months there, they kind of handed over the reins a little bit more, and I did lead a lot of my classes, but like I said, for the most part, get yourself into the idea that you're most likely going to be more of a teaching assistant. So that is the process. That's how I got into teaching in Korea. Pretty simple for the most part, not really that much more to say on it. Very simple. My advice to you would be, like I said, do as much research as you possibly can. Don't go in there blind. There are forums, there's like waygook.org. There's a bunch of forums. I would say don't listen too much about what people say on there though, because a lot of these forums are filled with a lot of bitter people who should have left Korea a long time ago, but don't get disheartened for what you read on those forums. There are many Facebook groups that have a wealth of information. Just do all the research you can and you'll get all the information that you need. So guys, that was my video on teaching in Korea. I will try and leave as many links as I can below, just so that you can peruse at your own leisure. I hope you guys enjoyed watching that video, and I will speak to you all next time. Bye.